Hello, welcome to 10 Meaningful Minutes. My name is Laurie Lacombe. I am the Health, Prevention, and Social Emotional Learning Coordinator here in DCSD, and I'm joined by my beautiful friend and colleague, Aaron Reagan, our counselor lead in the district. And Aaron, it's been so long since we have had the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, I can't believe that it has been so long.
I know it really has been. Okay, so we're so excited because we have a wonderful guest joining us today, Brandon Slade. Welcome from Untapped Learning.
Yeah, and thank you guys so much for having me. I'm super excited to be with you all.
You seem to be a wonderful expert around the area of ADHD, and you've actually created a beautiful program to help us deal with this in our society and with our people. And can you just give us a little idea of how you got started in it all?
Yeah. So all the program came through a bunch of personal experiences. I really believe ADHD and the fact that our brains work differently is such a huge gift, but it can be super painful when you're growing up. So my quick background is that I grew up in Boulder County and diagnosed ADHD at a very young age, and I had the perfect type of ADHD where I was flipping tables and jumping on things, and so people noticed me. My heart always breaks for these super smart, sweet kids who sit in the back with the inattentive ADHD, but I had the best kind of ADHD because I got a lot of attention right away. 99th percentile on the hyperactivity scale, and so growing up, that energy is a tremendous gift right now, but it caused me a lot of challenges in school. So long story short, went through middle school and high school, getting into trouble all the time, but was able to earn a football scholarship to Ohio. And then once I went to college, failed out very quickly. Had all the academic struggles because when you go from so much structure to an unstructured environment, being able to balance academic and social and friends and everything that comes along with that, us with the gift really struggle. So through all that, had some great mentors who worked me through the process, was able to get through college and graduate school, and then taught in special education in Boulder Valley, and just stumbled into something we call Untapped Learning, where we have a football field where we throw the football with kids while learning their vocab words, and we play ping pong while learning Spanish, and do executive function coaching with kids. And we actually just opened a center in Centennial. And we collaborate with colleges all across the country and just really help our kids with ADHD, dyslexia, anxiety, or whatever executive function challenge they have, really realize their gift.
I love how you frame it as a gift, because it truly is.
It truly is.
People just embracing their unique learning styles and abilities, and I love your approach to this.
I used to say this and people would be like, no, like what a nice thing to say, but not really. But if you look at the latest jobs report, the one that came out in 2020, what employers are seeking right now is completely different than what it used to be. Number one, what they're seeking right now is complex problem solving. So different ways to look at problems and different solutions for that. Number two, for the first time ever, was creativity. That didn't even used to show up on the list. So as we move on and more automation happens, this fact that your brain works differently is actually not just a huge gift now. It's not an opinion. It's really what we're seeing in the workplace and what people are really after.
Good statistics.
Absolutely. So Brandon, since we have you here, I've been a high school counselor for a long time, and one of the things that I heard from families around this issue for years was a scenario where a parent might say, we're having a really hard time getting our child who happens to have ADHD to do their homework every night, and this is resulting in conflict that is hurting our relationship with our student. And I don't know if you have any recommendations or if you have seen this situation, but I'm wondering if you might be able to share.
Yeah, great question. I see that probably daily. Every other call seems something to do with that. And it does break my heart because growing up, I would tell my friends on June 1st, I'd say, hey, I'll see y'all on July 1st because the report cards were coming in the mail. I knew I'd be grounded for a month and I'd pay the piper, right? It was like a one-time thing. I get my D's and F's, I rip the Band-Aid off, and then I'm good to go. But now with everything being online and with constant updates for parents, it really is damaging a lot of relationships. And parents aren't able to have those important conversations that they need to have with their kids because their relationship is getting trashed over math homework. So that's kind of the mindset behind it. But the concrete strategies we can do, the first thing we need to do is routines. If you have an executive function challenge, you have to become incredibly routine-based. And this sounds like it's going to lock up your life and make it boring, but the opposite happens. We always reiterate the Navy SEAL motto, discipline equals freedom. We want our kids to have more time to do what they love, but we have to have that discipline and that routine first. So the most basic recommendation, and obviously life happens and is busy, but doing your homework at the same time in the same place every single night. So let's say it's 4 p.m. at the kitchen table. Once we fall into a routine there, research shows us that attention gets better, learning, memory, and retention get better. So we're actually functioning higher while spending less time on homework. So 30 to 45 minutes every night, same time, same place. Lots of love, lots of accountability. 2 pats on the back, 1 kick in the tail, lots of praise when we get through our routine.
We want all our students to succeed, of course, and our goal is that there's some post-secondary education happening. And so what would your advice be to parents who are sending their children off to universities, colleges, maybe more of a, career tech program? Your story had that in it, is that you got to college and then the structure was gone and it was really difficult. So what would you advise our parents who are sending their students, their children off who have ADHD?
It's a great question, and it's very anxiety producing. So the first thing I always tell parents is don't project your kid's future, because we always want to project it and tell them. They always want to say, well, they can't make their bed now, so X, Y, and Z, and someone's always ending up living under a bridge. I'm like reorienting their bag. It's like, no, like meet your kid where they're at right now. So don't project their future, but at the same time, if we can teach them how to plan, so like every single Sunday night, having like a planning session with your kid, research shows us that just that ability to plan helps us think ahead. And then the routines thing I talked about, that's the biggest indicator of success. That routine could be going to office hours every single week. That routine could be going to the library from 12 to 1 every single day. But understanding planning and routines is a great place to start. If you're already there, teaching your kid how to talk to a professor in a respectful way, we've seen a huge bang for our buck there with the kids that we work with. A lot of role play.
Well, and you brought up an interesting point where it really evokes a lot of anxiety and for the parents. And so for them, that structure and those conversations, maybe that will help take off their anxiety as well as also setting their students up for success.
Yeah, and another piece of advice for parents who have kids that struggle, whatever you do to take care of yourself, do it more. If that's yoga, if that's a warm bath, if that's mindfulness, whatever, do it more.
Maybe a little more Netflix binging.
Yeah,
I mean, whatever. No,
there's no amount of worrying that will make the situation better. Give your kid the skills that they need to the best of your abilities and really take care of yourself, because this child is going to need you for the long run.
That's great advice. I think something that's come up a lot with families that I work with is you have a parent, and I'm a parent myself, so I can relate to this, that wants to be supportive. Yeah. They want to be somewhat involved, but when their student's not doing what they need to do, they feel like they have to be on them all the time. And I'm just wondering if you have any advice for parents about what that fine line is between holding them accountable and being overbearing.
That's a great question, and it's so different in every situation. Just a few mindset things that have helped a lot of our parents is, by the age of 10, the typical child with ADHD or other executive function challenge has 20,000 more negative comments towards them than positive comments. So we wonder why our kids get turned off or really defensive. So any positive reinforcement we can give really goes a long way. The other thing is that at this stage in the game with these kids, they're very concrete. So keeping things black and white as possible is really, really going to be helpful. So if you get through your nightly homework routine, this positive thing happens. If you don't, this negative thing happens. Just clear expectations is a great, great way to start. One of the best basketball coaches of all time, John Wooden, said 80% of the time that they mess up, it's incompetence and 20% disobedience. So 80% of the time, we don't even know what's expected of us. We're guessing. And then 20%, we're just trying to be disobedient. And so we can deal with that 20%, but clearing that up as best as we can, having very, very clear expectations is the best way to do it. We've seen that families don't need to harp on their kids as much. And then just another recommendation, if possible, office hours are a great thing. Some kind of structured study session, that 30 minutes with that teacher often gives you an hour and a half of free time on your own. It's that discipline equals freedom mentality, and it takes the pressure off you.
And just to take this a step further, for parents who might be wondering, I suspect that my own child has ADHD. He's a little younger and he's in elementary school now, but what might a routine look like at night after the homework is done to prep him for the following day? What might a recommendation be that you have?
Yeah, great question. I have a 3-year-old, and the teachers called me like, "Your kid has a lot of energy." I was like, I knew it was coming. I didn't know it was gonna be that quick. So first of all, it depends on the child, right? At 37 years old, I still have to lay my clothes out. I still have to put my wallet, keys, and phone in the exact same bowl every single night, and I have to pack my backpack next to the door, or I won't be anywhere on time. The nighttime routine actually launches me the next morning, and it decreases a lot of anxiety. Coming back to your question in a second, but the first thing is we look at where the biggest fire is. Like, is it getting out of the door in the morning or something else? And then we build a routine around that. Starting slow to go fast. But a nighttime routine for your 9-year-old could be as simple as packing his backpack. Starting small, lots of love. Or it could be laying your clothes out. Wherever there's a sticky point, that's a great way to build a routine. And at that age, they don't have these high-level concepts about, okay, when I go to college, I need to have a homework routine, but just simply introducing them to the fact and then pointing out to them like, wow, we almost got out the door on time this morning. Congratulations, we were only 5 minutes late today. That's really what's helpful for kids of that age, is planting that seed.
I can't help myself. But with the nighttime routine, I think there's also carving out a few moments of just like super calm. Whether it's like listening to some quiet music, listening to like a guided visualization, a little, even like a storybook. Like Calm Now, the app has all these professional actors reading stories, and my 14-year-old has done this where he'll just put a story on. It's just like a nice way to kind of end the day and prep you, I think, also for a positive start for the next day.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, my 3-year-old was having huge sleep disturbances and really could not figure this out. And we took her to the pediatrician, and she's like, "Have you tried a bedtime routine?" I'm like, "Ah." Like I talk about this nonstop, and that was her exact recommendation. Was like, bath 30 minutes before, storybook, and then that signals to the brain it's time to start winding down, which is a great thing. We also know our teenagers with ADHD have big time sleep disturbances. Yeah. It's kind of a chicken or the egg thing here, is we don't know if that's causing the attention issues or if it's vice versa. The way around that for even our teenagers is having the bedtime routine of 30 minutes before bed I do this, maybe reading a story, maybe some quiet time, but it's just a great thing to remember all across life.
I have one more question for you. Over COVID, there was a lot of online learning, a lot of computer in your lap, on the couch, in the bed. And as parents, we are like, oh, should we have them at the desk? Or like, what do you think is the best recommendation for parents to set up for the best study work situation?
Yeah, so I fight with my college kids every single day about this, the college kids that I work with. Every single day, it's get out of your bed and don't do your homework in your bed. Because they wonder why they have a hard time focusing. They think they have ADHD if they do or they don't. And then they're falling asleep in their homework and they're up at night because the brain is like, what's going on here? It doesn't know how to associate this space. So one of the best things we can do is have a space which is used for homework and homework only, if that's possible in your household or wherever else. Again, if you do that, your attention's going to get much better and you're going to get through your homework higher quality in less time. So that's kind of what we want to tell our kids and point it out, like, hey, when you worked in this place after a couple nights, you're doing a much better job.
Great advice.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, we want to associate things, especially if you struggle with attention. Attention is golden. And so we want to make sure that wherever we're productive, we keep that space for productivity and productivity only. If you have the discipline not even to check your social media there, it's amazing how good your attention can get.
Brandon, when we have guests on, I always ask them this question. For our parents who are listening, what is one thing, if you could wave a magic wand and have them take one or two things away from this, what would they be?
I guess at the most basic level, there's nothing wrong with these kids, right? We see in between 60% of our CEOs and entrepreneurs have an ADHD or some kind of neurodiversity, right? They can be exhausting and they're tiring and it's a long haul. But first knowing that just because they learn differently, there's nothing wrong here. There is a path for them and the world is changing so quickly, and to have a neurodiverse brain can be a very positive thing. At a very practical level, it's the routines things that we talked about. So wherever something is really, really bugging you or your family right now, building in a routine around that and a lot of love and a lot of accountability. So those would be the two.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Untapped Learning You just opened a facility in Centennial.
Yes.
Near IKEA.
Near IKEA.
Is that right?
The size of IKEA?
Yeah, I wish our kids
Instead of football seats.
our kids would love it. So yeah, we just opened a facility in Centennial, and we work with kids with ADHD, anxiety, dyslexia, depression, whatever executive function challenge that they're having at the time. We just help them be more productive, really give them the freedom to enjoy what they like.
And what ages?
We work with middle school, high school, and college.
Okay. And middle school is defined as 6th grade?
Yes. Good question. And then we work with college kids and graduate school kids all across the country. You'd be amazed how many kids I work with that I really think are going to cure cancer, but they can't find their car keys. They're the smartest of the smart, and we got to put in these basic routines we're talking about doing for our 5-year-olds. You would be amazed the people at such a high level intellectually that have had to put these in. It's not an intelligence thing at all. It's just the way we're wired.
Well said. Brandon, I can't thank you enough for coming in person, joining us today. Thank you for joining us on 10 Meaningful Minutes and relaunching our season. This is invaluable, and I think that it will resonate with a lot of our parents
Thank
and
you
listeners.
I'm
Appreciate
a huge fan of what you guys do for our kids, so thank you guys so much. So, cool. Thank you.